Today we have Zameer Nazarali chatting to me. He is an employment law and HR professional. He is the CEO of the Simplify Group and a firm that teaches companies to embrace employee relations in its truest form, including employee engagement. So it's really nice to have you, Zameer. Hope you're well.
Hi, Hadie. Yeah, good to be here. Thank you for having me along.
We're very much concentrating today on employee engagement, but really looking at the bit before and how that needs to happen. So a while back, Zameer, you chatted to me about mindset and culture shift as probably the very initial steps before employee engagement can even take place or take effect. So I guess I want to ask you what behaviours in a business will demonstrate employee engagement is low due to leadership mindset. Now, what should companies look out for?
Yeah, no, so you're quite right in terms of what we discussed. Unfortunately, sometimes employee engagement is seen as, rolling out a number of perks and incentives, and hopefully employees will feel that, that there's more to lose if they leave the company. But as you've highlighted, it starts with the mindset of the leadership. And that's really, really vital, because if the leadership at a business don't feel and believe in that employee engagement movement, it's never going to come across naturally and genuinely. And so you've got a number of key factors which are quite prominent in a number of organizations, to be honest. It's very easy to slip into this mode, because as a business owner or a person in leadership, you're trying to hit targets, you're trying to keep your company afloat, especially in this type of environment. You're trying to do what's necessary to get things moving and to survive. And then that disconnect sort of creeps in. So key examples would be a lack of positive appraisals and consistent appraisals. So having robotic and mechanical forms where you just tick, 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 yep, that looks good, let's move on, is quite prominent. And not enough time maybe is given to having a valuable conversation with your employees, checking in that, on their well-being, seeing how they're doing, seeing what anxieties they might have. Again, citing the current period that we're facing, there's going to be more than just work-related anxiety and stress. There's going to be things going on at home, if people have been on furlough and receiving less income, how have they been managing? Now they're coming back into work. Are they coming back with some emotional or physical or monetary baggage? So I think those are the key sort of telltales where you have, I guess, a lack of real communication.
How does a company, no matter what size, continue to empower their teams with decision making and management of their own success? I mean, how must they keep up the momentum? Because it's okay doing it once and saying this is what you've got to do, but how do you keep that momentum up? So is this through the use of, like we were talking about, performance technology, or just continuously reinforcing that leadership mindset?
We had an events company and studio hire company going really well. The business was sort of growing at a steady pace, but the internal issues were very clear. So the sole director at that time, he felt very frustrated because he liked, obviously, to keep in touch with his employees and be there for them, and he adopted an open door policy. And that open door policy drove him mad, because he'd be, trying to close a big deal or trying to negotiate something. Someone walks in, right, I need to talk to you about my holiday form. And I'm being a bit flippant. Sometimes it wouldn't be as simple as that. There would be other things, but it would constantly disturb his flow. And I think what we established with him after some assessment, and I think self-assessment is key in this process, we realized that he wasn't behaving as a leader. And what I mean by that is leadership genuinely should be strategic, because effectively you're the captain of the ship, you're steering the ship, you're making sure the direction is correct. And so that there's someone who can guide through those choppy waters. And you shouldn't be on the dock doing the work that needs to be done there, or anywhere else but by the steering wheel, because that's essential. It's the roadmap for your whole business. And so that's what he was finding, that he was so involved in the operations that he couldn't strategically look back and see how to develop the company culture. And the reason he was so operational is because his recruitment wasn't in line with his growth. And so recruitment and growth is always a very contentious area I've found with clients. They will constantly tell us, oh, we've got to employ people to do the work to be able to grow. And my argument is, no, we need to create a roadmap and create a vision of what you see as the team to deliver your optimal value and service, to bring your dream to life. So not just filling in gaps because we've got more clients now, we need to deal with them, but it's, look, in 5 years' time, where do I need to be to deliver this fantastic dream of a business that I've put together? And so we started looking at his structure, and a term that is sometimes underestimated is the people plan. And so in his situation, we realized there needed to be a layer of management to take away those day-to-day issues, which are very important, but not necessary for him to get involved in. It took a good 6 to 8 months to get that structure in place and for him to arrive at that way of thinking. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, when he did, he now is able to step back as a strategist and also spend time implementing his leadership vision and like you said, revisiting what he finds important. And you know, his people are vital to him, and having great relationships is really, really important. And so now he can spend more time assessing people, not just based on performance appraisals and what comes back, but actually having conversations and checking in and seeing if they're okay. And so that has transformed his business to being a steady, ongoing sort of company to one that's really been able to step up the challenge, because he's at the helm and he's able to strategize and he's able to keep in touch with the people below without being lost in the day-to-day. If you like the business term, working on the business rather than in the business.
So what about reward and recognition? I feel it's more of a prize following a meeting of these minds that you're talking about. You talk about, you know, making sure everyone is on the same page. So first of all, I want to know what you feel about reward and recognition, and in what form it should be delivered, and can one program really affect the engagement of all employees? You know, is there such a thing? Is there a silver bullet, I guess?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think so. We've established that it's a bit of a journey, and I think the reward and recognition part is often the final piece rather than the first piece. And it takes many different forms as well. As we know, there's a lot of options out there. I think the first thing to understand is what makes your team tick. That's really, really important. So for example, I've had clients who, you know, would put a bonus structure together, a commission structure together, and think that is the reward and the recognition. And they get muddled up along the way, whereas that is a recognition of the effort they're putting in. It's not such a recognition of them being part of the fiber of the company. It's a very obvious way to sort of reward someone. And you know, bonuses come and go, so it's not something that leaves a very lasting impression sometimes. So I think it's really important to engage with the team, understand where they're at, what is it they find valuable. So for example, having a perks platform that provides shopping discounts might be very important to one side of the team, but you might have another side of the team who actually just want a bit more time to do charity work or attend sporting events or do fundraising. So, you know, it's also important to understand how, as a business, not just because it's your corporate responsibility, but because genuinely you want to enhance and sort of champion the causes that your team and the individuals of your team find important, sort of finding ways to get involved in things they find important, because I think that's what breeds loyalty. People can recognize when you care about what they care about, if that makes sense. I think that's really, really important. So sometimes it's not just the physical giving of a perk. It's sometimes a bit more. It's, again, as I said, you've got to get a bit in depth with your employees. And sometimes it's difficult. It is difficult because if you have a large team, you can't be everywhere. So that goes back to the previous point of having the right structure in place, where you've got your champions on the ground, checking in with their own teams and filtering in the right way back. And yeah, that's through constant self-assessment. I think year to year it can change, but sometimes, you know, people can take things for granted as well. So you need to shake it up a little bit every so often.
You've got a very refreshing sort of take on employee relations and it's not just about the people, it's about how they mix, like you said, into the fibre of a business. So yes, tell me about Simplify Group and where you're going.
Absolutely. So the group has now sort of evolved over the last 7 years, and we have sort of different facets to the business. So we have a business law commercial service that serves businesses in terms of their legal commercial needs. We have an insurance side where we provide protection insurance for both employees, employers as a group, and individuals as well. And then the sort of center point is Simplify ER, which is our employee relations and HR consultancy, where again we support typically SMEs in terms of not just outsourcing the HR admin, but outsourcing the HR philosophy and helping them build those people plans. So we're very blessed to have just come out of our accreditation assessment with Investors in People. So now we've certified as an investor in people. As Simplify ER, which is a great honor. We love to talk about employee engagement, but I always say to my team, we've got to walk this talk. And so for us, that was a real great way to benchmark of where we're at as a company, so that we can go out and sort of help motivate and inspire others. We're trying to make our service and our delivery technologically sound and really cool, really funky. We want to move away from this whole legalese way of managing HR. We don't like that structure. We like to be a bit crazy, a bit creative. Clients think we're absolutely nuts sometimes. But yeah, it builds the relationship, which is great. And we're spending a lot of our energy right now on creating employee engagement courses and sort of takeaways, so we can really help clients not just find the start of their journey, but supercharge their movement towards having a more engaged workforce.